So welcome everybody on a Sunday afternoon once again. We are here, well, I'm down here in Tassie. We've got our second day in a row with plus 20 degrees, which is quite warm for us, which is fantastic. So we've been out in the garden, and it's great to welcome back our co-host on many occasions, Atan Drori, who's been all around Israel, Europe, USA, etc., etc. He's with us today. Many of you are joining from all over Australia. Wonderful to have you with us. And we've got our special young lady, Moore Segal, who's with us as well. So without further ado, I'm just welcoming everybody. I'm going to pass to Atan because he's been on the go and he can give us a bit of a summation about where he's been and what he's been doing. And then Moore is going to share a bit with us as well. So over to you, Atan.
Thank you, John. Thank you for all really for joining today. I'm in a way, I apologize for not attending the meetings in the past few weeks now. Due to my trip was really an unpredictable trip. So it was not planned before. The only thing we knew is that we have to go to Israel authentically and be part of a nation in a very unique situation. If we count back to the independent, I don't think that we had, I would call it a situation where we were surprised in a way on the 7th of October, not exactly similar to the 6th of October 1973, a different way of attacking us. If you remember, whoever remembers, the 6th of October 1973 was something different because it was to deal with our neighboring enemies. It was to deal with the acknowledged and recognized nations like Egypt, Syria, Jordan, even Iraq. Lebanon was not the case at the time, and of course, with support of Arab nations, mentally, culturally, to eliminate the state of Israel. And the point here is that we are dealing since, I would say now, 3 decades and more with the terror organizations that are taking us as a nation to the test. If from the north, along the way, from 1982, the war, the first war in Lebanon, later on the intifadas, the 1 and the 2, the first intifada in 1987, the second intifada in 2001 and 2, and in fact 2001 was the explosion of the second intifada in this terrible terror attack in Park Hotel in Netanya during Leila Seder in Pesach 2002. And if I'm not mistaken, yes, it was 2002. And it's a different warfare. It's a different dealing with issues. It's very much, in Hebrew you call it milchama sizifit. It's a very, very deep into the ground digging war. It's a very, very difficult circumstances created by the terror organizations to our the young generation of soldiers. It's different. We used to fight in the 70s, in the 60s, strategically against armies, against air forces, against tanks, against artillery. It was different. And in fact, what I thought I should try and explain you the unpredictable visit that I had in Israel. Within my time in Israel, I went also to a conference of the Israelis in the United States of America, where participants from Israel arrived, mainly media, to hear the sound and the voices of Israelis outside Israel and check also something unique that happened, and we discussed it along the year, is how Israelis outside Israel are becoming more and more a force to transfer the message to countries where they live. And if you see the demonstrations in Australia, opposite parliaments, you probably realize that the Israeli community in Australia is the one to lead the sessions. They're the ones to stand in parks everywhere, in junctions, wherever it is permitted, and call for the return of the hostages. So what I thought to do today is try to, in a way, divide my presentation, and I'll maybe make also a little bit of a ping pong game with more, and try to have a duo, a young lady who serves in the IDF on a daily basis now. She's totally dedicated with her partner, her life to the nation. In her age, mid-20s, and then I would say I would tell about my own experience and Ronit, my wife's experience during the time in Israel, and also whatever I can share with you is meetings that I had with Israeli leaders, and how I would say the wave, the atmosphere, the thinking process of different groups in Israel are taking place during this difficult time when, being straightforward with you, sisters and brothers, we don't know where time takes us. So we don't know where time takes us. And that's something that for sure, if Israelis don't know where time takes us, definitely the world don't know where time takes us, except probably politicians in the United States of America, or maybe the Chinese, or maybe the Russians, if we talk about the geopolitical arena. You never know what, as we say, the Council of Wisdom are thinking for us, the Jewish nation, forever to live. So all in all, we are in a way in a very interesting and difficult situation that I would say that we need to have the Council of Wisdom, or the Council of the Wisest worldwide, those who love Israel. It doesn't matter if it's Jewish or not Jewish. It doesn't matter if it's a Nobel Prize winners or not. Whoever loves Israel should come to rescue, because we are in a sort of crossroad that needs the brainers. And the other thing is that, to my opinion, is the most important thing, and here I would like to start, is the capacity of Israelis to listen. If the Israelis would not be able to listen, to each other, not to hear each other, to listen to each other. I'm talking about to listen to each other. If we would not be able to adapt the Western culture, where you sit in a panel discussion, or you discuss an issue in a meeting, You need to let your peer, your friend, your sister, your brother, your mother, your father, it doesn't matter, to talk until the end of the sentence. And at the moment, the Israelis don't listen to each other, and they also don't listen to the world. And that's something that I took with me at a very, very difficult feeling leaving Israel, because you don't let anyone talk. Everyone is talking into the other. And Mo is smiling, but I tell the truth. and that's something really sad, because at the end of the day, we are united, we are worried, and we are hoping to finish this terrible time, and not to mention, of course, the loss of people. But we have to be 100% sure that we're educating ourselves to listen. If we don't listen, we have a major issue. And with all the respect, the Israelis are very unique people. We are always in debate, very healthy debate, very healthy debate. It's a debate that squeezes our mind, that gives us the way to be creative. I know two professors fighting about an innovation. That's good. That's perfect. But now, when we are talking about a dead end, where we have to go now and revive, where we have to go now and use our optimism and hope and prayer, we all here praying. The prayer is important, but without open ear to each other, and I enjoy, for example, when John talks or gives his speech, I enjoy listening until the end. I don't have to say, like in the army, root, go. Like, we say root avor in Hebrew. I don't have to say with my, communication system, I finished my sentence, you can talk. We need to show politeness and understanding. So that's nothing about education. It's more about respecting each other. It's more about the pearls that are coming from the mouth of a person, and he can't finish a sentence. He's frustrated. So I just give you an example. During my time with the IAC conference, I was giving the 7 minutes TED talk in the second day. And the first day, former President Trump was giving a speech where he said, guys, I talk now to the Israeli, not to the Jewish community. He said, the Jewish community in America is not good with me. They're going to vote for Harris. I'm talking about you. You should be the leaders. You should be the catalyst for Jewish peoplehood. You are the one to tell us all that you're going to vote for me. Because if you're not going to vote for me, he said, it's an existence question of the state of Israel. This is no good. This is no good. It is no good. And then comes a wave of young supporters screaming, Trump to be president, and screaming and screaming and screaming. It's like without Trump, Israel would not exist. It was really terrible to hear it in a hall of 3,000 people. Young people in the age of 20, 30s are screaming Trump like they support Essendon or Melbourne or Carlton. It was terrible. And I left the room, and I had an idea what to say in my TED Talk. My TED Talk was meant to be united, a call to unite. This was my TED Talk. I spoke about it. The people asked me to do it. So that's what I did. I was planning, I wrote my speech, blah, 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 for 7 minutes. And then I thought to myself, no, I'm going to speak about listening to each other. I'm going to ask to calm down, to take a second thought. Young people should listen to old people. They have the experience. They don't have to say, I know better than you. So what I try to tell you today, first and foremost, is my reflection on my trip to Israel that will give you another side of the coin. The one side is the reality, is what you see on the media. But the other side of it is mentality, is about education, is about culture, is about taking a good example from Australia, from wherever you can see a peaceful nation under management. And if we don't have the ability to learn from others, you know, one of the things that I hear, and as I say, it's all about good intention. I was sitting in a conference, they call it the ICT, the International Counterterrorism Conference at Reichman University. And I was sitting with a major senior government representative. And I said to him, mate, I don't want to mention his name, former defense. And I said to him, you know, let's count together how many times you hear no. The word no. Let's count no. Let's count but and no. In one panel of 1 hour, 250 times. 250 times disagreements is just unbelievable. So what we need really now in order to be, again, a one family with such unbelievable brave young men and women serving in the army and giving their life to the nation, to our existence. Not Trump is a question of existence. It's our young kids. Our young kids are the question of existence. Those who dedicate their time, I just read this morning in a newspaper that there are two issues with economy in Israel now. One issue is, of course, many companies are bankrupt or they stop working or shops are closed. But the main thing is the young people like Moore who is not going to the university. We have here reservists who are fighting in Lebanon at the moment, who are postponing the beginning of the semester 3 or 4 times already because they can't go to university. You're talking about startup nation. So all in all, I would say that we need to realize the reality is really serious, and I would say that we need to have a special unit to teach the people to listen, and a special unit to teach the people to respect each other in this very difficult time. And this was my sort of introduction to my visit to Israel, because I know that I'm going back again in December and already preparing a small conference for the listeners. That's the way I called it, the conference for the listeners. And we'll bring some people because the ideas, you know, sitting in offices and talking to people, I think that more will be also interested to hear it, that we have such amazing solutions to the situation. With all the respect to our Prime Minister Netanyahu, we don't talk politics today. But what we know for sure, that there are some amazing, talented volunteers who stop their life and they do everything to find a solution. And it's not about Sinwar or Nasrallah. It's about being dead now. Of course, it was important operations that took the stamina from the terrorist community in the Middle East, or reduced the stamina. But all in all, we need, before everything, is to find the genius who will tell us how to bring the hostages back. That's the main thing. We need to find a genius to bring the hostages back. They cannot be forgotten. You cannot hear families traveling worldwide, sleeping in the street, asking and begging to find a way. We have the grassroots genius somewhere. He is somewhere, in a village, in a kibbutz. So one simple suggestion, I think I mentioned it in the past, and I think that would be interesting to hear Mo's opinion about it, is to, if you remember, in the foyer, in the reception area to every school, you have a suggestion book. In the suggestion box, where a kid is coming and saying, the heating system is not working in class A2. And then there is someone in the office who brings this piece of paper to the principal, and the room is warm again. So we need to have a suggestion box. We need to have the grassroots. We need to have the young people given the opportunity to suggest. And I'd like to pass to Mo, because I think that now Mo can tell us a little bit about her contribution to the state of Israel. I will rest a bit, and later on, I will give you some aspects that probably will be as well interesting for you to hear. So Mo, welcome. Mo was with us at the early stage of the war, after the 7th of October. If you remember, she was the one to wake up one morning to hear what happened on the 7th of October in Western Australia with a partner, Ziv. And she took initiative, and with her fascinating father, who was a veteran of the Israeli security forces, they called significant people, leaders, reporters in Israel, and brought them to different Australian media, if it's the TV, the radio, the newspapers. Just imagine, totally innovative. She created a startup in Australia, and she felt obliged to do it. And no one can forget Mo Segal for what she's done. And this is really amazing. And then she went back home. Her partner Ziv served as a combat fighter, and I'm not sure where he is at the moment. And she is now serving in the army, and she's few days off. Just imagine, I missed her in Israel just because she was in the army, and I couldn't blame her. She could blame me that I didn't come to bring her food to her base. But all in all, I think it would be worthwhile to hear more. Welcome.
Thank you so much, Ethan. I think John wanted to ask something before I start to speak.
No, it's just welcome, more wonderful to have you with us once again from the other side of the world this time. Fascinated with what you've got to share, and just saying to people, if they want to ask a question or make a comment after you've had some time, they can put up their hand using the reactions button. But over to you, Moore.
Okay, thank you very much. So as Ethan and John said, my name is Moore. I'm 25 years old now. I met you guys like a year ago after the 7th of October. I'm gonna tell you a little bit about my life now, but you can just, as John said, feel free to ask everything you want. I'm here to discuss with you about these subjects. So in general, as a citizen, I am a pre-med student in Israel now. I've started in Australia, and then after the 7th of October, I came back here to Israel. So I'm a student here. And what I do for a living is I'm a project manager, and I'm an analyst in, I'm not sure if you're familiar with it, but it's called an accelerator for startups. It's kind of a program to accelerate startups to become from a startup to become a big company and a big successful company. So the subject we are dealing with is resilience. And we're focusing on the Western Negev. If you know, it's kind of in the south of Israel. It's where Gaza envelope is. and where people are not experiencing a good resilience like we all have, or we all should have. And it started even before the 7th of October, but now it has been accelerated, obviously. So we're trying to just take care of them. And today, I'm doing reserve as a fire operator for the commando units, which is not an easy part mentally, because you can see all the soldiers in Lebanon or in Gaza, so it's really hard mentally from one side. But from the other side, you feel very committed, like you're doing something meaningful and you get to do actual stuff in this war. And I'm not sure every person in my age over the world can feel this feeling ever. So it's very unique. And as Ethan said, people like me, people in my age and in their early or late 20s, or even on their 30s, or even people like my dad, which is like 55 years old, are just putting their lives aside and are just coming every single day to serve their country with a big feeling of mission and obligation to the country, to our only home, which is good from one side because that's what makes us all unique and united, like Ethan said. But as he also said, it's really hard because a lot of businesses are being like not successful at the moment. And also, I miss school. I miss my studying, and the university is not really waiting for anyone, because life and routine is just going on with or without the people who are fighting at the moment for more than a year now. We do have some laws in the country that are trying to protect the reserve people, and which means like the job can't fire you if you're doing reserve. But as you can guys imagine, the job is keeping on working without you. The workplace is just moving forward, even if you're there or if you're not in there. So people are missing their jobs, like not on purpose anyway. So it's really hard, but we all feel obligated to the mission and we feel like we want to fight for our homes. And I think I told you guys about that like a year ago, that when my partner and I used to work in WA and this 7th of October happened, we talked about going back to Israel and to go and fight and go to help and just be there with our families and with our country. But our bosses asked us if we want to bring our families to Australia to protect them. So it was like really funny to see the other attitudes, that we wanted to go into the war and to give our parts, and they just didn't get it. No one got it, not the Europeans, not the Australians. Everyone were just shocked from the fact that we wanted to go and help and do something. So it's very, very unique for the Israeli people. I'm not even talking about the Jewish people. Anything else you would like to hear? I'm open for questions and to tell you all about it.
I'd like to ask you quickly more, and I thought about the ping pong and maybe create
Yeah, go ahead.
also a chat with all, and please interrupt us anytime with questions. You wake up in the morning. You wake up in the morning in your moshav next door to Kfar Saba. I spent some time in Kfar Saba and drove down, and it was like an attack at the time on Herzliya, and then you wake up in the morning. What do you say to yourself when you're at home, and what do you say to yourself before you start your day in the army now as a reservist, in terms of, I would say, cautious, אמצעי אזהרה. What do you say to yourself? If I find myself in a car driving and there is an alarm or siren, just to give you an example, my wife Ronit was driving with my sister-in-law from Caesarea. Yesterday there was how do you call it, a plane without pilot falling on the prime minister's house in Caesarea. We lived at my brother and sister-in-law 100-meter distance from the prime minister. He lives in one street and we live next door in another street called Tor, it doesn't matter, and it's really 100-meter distance between the two houses. And the whole idea was, okay, we drive now to the north, what do we do if a siren takes place? So can you tell us a little bit about it? Because Ronit, for example, jumped with my sister-in-law from the car. First of all, I made her frightened all the time by saying to her, you have to sprint and be away about 100 meters distance from the car, and like sprint and then lie, of course, with your hands on like that. And yesterday, for example, there was an example where two people were sitting in one car. One was sitting with the head between his knees, and he was staying alive. He was and survived, and the driver was killed. A little bit of authenticity about your day in the morning. What do you say to yourself?
I can't say it's not hard. It is hard, and I feel like I'm gonna have PTSD. 'Cause you're searching with your eyes all the time. Like if you know the story that was a week ago, that a plane without a pilot just crashed in a base in Israel, and I was in another base at the same time, and we got announced that it's gonna happen in our base as well. So no one went to eat, no one went under a building, and we were eating toast like under the stars and looking for the sky all the time.
Yes.
So it's very stressful. I can't say it's not. And every noise you hear is like giving you like, I don't know,
it's a little bit normal. Is people took it with a mobile phone, and you hear like a bee, right?
Yeah.
So it's so much low tech made in Iran that at the end of the day, Israel is not ready scientifically or technologically to stop it complete. And I'm sure they're now finding a solution for it in Rafael or wherever, or Elbit. But all in all, it's an interesting phenomena where you see a calm freeway, everyone is driving back home in the evening. I was driving every day between Tel Aviv and Caesarea, and people are driving, as we all know, the Israelis, they drive right and left and overtaking you from the right, from the left without using blinker. That's part of us. But on the other hand, it was quiet, and then whoop, it happens, and everyone stops and try to find a parking slot somewhere. And authentically, it's something that you all have to hear, because it's a different life now in Israel, no?
It is a different life. I think in the south of Israel, people are known with this phenomena that someday, at some point of the day, the alarm can start. But I'm gonna relate to one thing you said before, that everyone are just behaving as they want on the road. But I guess that whenever there is a person who needs help or an alarm that starts to, I don't know how to say, just alarm starts, everyone are trying to help other people that they haven't met, and they're trying to protect them. And I think this is one of the most beautiful things around our people. And Ethan, you said before that
I appreciate that very much. I think it's so important what you say now, because that's exactly what I say. I don't attack us for not listening to each other. I say we can be united. How can we sort it out? we can be united. It's a proof every day. Everyone gives hand to another. So how is it possible, this contrast between not hearing each other, not listening to each other, hearing each other, but then when you need someone to support you, he's there, always there.
Yeah, and as someone who traveled a lot, I can say that it's not the feeling in other countries. Even in some places in Australia, I felt like I'm inside a community, but I was kind of alone. But here in Israel, it feels like no matter who you are or no matter where you are at the moment, people would always take care of you. And I'm going to relate, Ethan, to what you said about not listening. I think some people are not listening, if I'm going to say the politicans. But other people are just passionate about everything. And as you said, we're debating all the time. And I can tell you that in my reserve, I'm serving with 50 years old and with 18 years old. And we're always talking about Zionism and about the mission feeling that we all feel. And we talk about everything because it's just part of the lives here. And I don't think it exists in any other place of the world. And I met a lot of Europeans who just never thought about values in life, and they never brought to mind the thought they would have to fear for their lives. So they never thought so deeply about the meaning of what they do or what they wish to do with their lives. And I think it's very unique for the Israeli people that are just passionate for everything we're talking about. So
you know,
that's why
I want to. You're absolutely right, and I would like now to go to my next sort of reflection that was my experience on the way to Israel and from Israel. And okay, so I'm not going to tire you with my itineraries that were changing on an ongoing basis because flights were canceled all the time, and the only companies that are flying to Israel permanently and not changing back and forth are the Israeli companies, El Al, Arkia, Sandor, Israel, and probably TUS, that is an Israeli ownership, but registered in Cyprus. And then you need, logistically, you need to try and think where you can get the best solution to get into Israel. So we first bought a ticket from Australia to London, and we thought that London would be the solution. But in London, we found out that British Airways and El Al are asking for tickets that you don't even dream, a return ticket, London, Tel Aviv, London, for minimum $1,500. So the Israeli companies are giving us a heavy economy in a way because they struggle from minimum tourism, traveling to Israel, and they need to somehow cover the budgets. But the main thing is that my experience with my wife, Ronit, was flying to Vienna, and in Vienna's airport, we took Arkia to Tel Aviv, and there are some, I would say, scenes that I'd like to share with you more, and maybe you can give your reflection on it, is, for example, one of the most, I would say, saddest feeling for me was to see many wounded soldiers with their wives and kids are traveling to Europe to just take a rest. In my flight, you're talking about a small aircraft or 319 Airbus or 320 Airbus or whatever, with 200 passengers, that you have about 100 baby trolleys. People are spending thousands of dollars to just rest outside Israel with their babies and wives. And this was for me a tragedy. I felt very bad about it because the people your age, mothers with babies, holding the babies here. The husbands are working to open the trolley, to close the trolley underneath the plane. It was too much for me. And my wife, to be honest, Ronit was crying. She couldn't see it, and especially, you know, young people with major injuries are led by father or mother-in-law just to be away a little bit to rest from the combat or to rest altogether after the injury. What can you say about that?
I have a lot to say about that, but we don't have enough time for me to say everything I think.
Yes.
But it is very hard, and I can tell you that my little sister, is now 21, I think, years old. And she is serving in the north of Israel. So for the last year, she is experiencing like major bombs, and she doesn't even hear the alarm because the boom is coming before the alarm, obviously. And we're trying to surprise her and to take her just out of here somewhere to Europe just to clean her head. And it's very hard because of the prices now. So it's just my personal situation right now. I think it's very hard to like cool down inside of Israel now because everything is very stressful, even if you feel safe, and I feel safe at the moment. But still you're like prepared every single second. So it just can make you very tired to be prepared all the time. And even if you're showering, you're trying to like wash your body real quick so the alarm won't surprise you. And it's just very hard, mostly mentally, like Ethan said.
You know, it's interesting, sorry to interrupt you. I think it's interesting the way we felt on board the flight, getting up and talking to these young people. I could not sit on my seat the whole flight. 4 hours between Vienna and Larnaca on the way to Israel when we didn't have yet a flight to Israel. So we said, let's take the flight to Larnaca. But on the way, it was really an unbelievable situation that you needed to speak to the fighters. You needed to ask them how they are. You needed to care for them. And this exactly what you said before is about the opportunity now to unite and be one nation. If not now, matai, then when? And now it's time to say thank you to the kids, to these young people who came, left their homes, left their jobs, and went to fight to protect the nation. One more thing that I wanted to share with you is a bizarre situation that no one takes into consideration unless you have the personal experience. On my way back from Washington, D.C., I had to fly in a way with United to Athens and then with Aegean, it's the Greek company, to Tel Aviv. And I couldn't do it. So Yoram, my good friend from Germany, is a travel agent, organized for me to fly to Zurich, from Zurich to Larnaca, and from Larnaca to Tel Aviv. But now look, when I flew from Zurich, I came to the gate and my eyes could not believe what I see. 50% of the passengers were were Hezbollah fighters.
Oh, wow.
So just imagine the bizarre that Lebanese, it doesn't matter, Hezbollah fighters who came from Europe to support the terror organization. That's not the issue. The issue was that you had Lebanese and Israelis on board the same flight to Larnaca. And I was sitting next to two Maronite Christians, young people who came from Zurich, they live in Switzerland, to worry about their families in Beirut. And they told me and my wife next door, they were sitting with us, lovely couple, and said to us, don't worry. And they explained us something that unless you're an Israeli fighter or you know the map of Beirut, that Dahya, where Israel attacks so precisely is completely different from the Christian suburbs in Beirut. So just imagine in a city the size of Beirut, you have sections divided to the Shiites, to the Sunnis, to the Druze, and to the Christians. Just imagine we live like that in Melbourne or Sydney. I mean, it's unbelievable that, and they say, look, we are not sure the Beirut airport is a bit closer to Dahia, is open. But what we did, we bought a ticket to Larnaca, and I take my wife to a holiday on the beach for a few days and see if we have the opportunity, we take the flight. So just imagine the bizarre reality in the Middle East. And I think...
All nuts.
Yes.
Yeah. It's great. Wonderful. Thank you guys for sharing. We'll open up for a couple of questions if people have got a question or a comment. Gail has raised a hand and we'll get Gail in a minute. It's like one of our other regular friends, and we hope you'll become a regular friend that can pop in and bring us up to date as well as to what's happening. But one of our other friends who's an IDF reservist commander, I think is still up in the north at the moment, Daniel Jacob, and he's been up there for about 3 weeks, I think, and we haven't heard from him. But when you go into your reserve unit, and as you say, you discuss everything before you go into action, etc. Tell me, where does prayer sit amongst the IDF reservists at the moment? Do you guys talk about it, or is it a point or a discussion? I'm really interested, particularly amongst the young people, because if anything is going to bring unity to a community, it's the ability to stand together and pray together. That's personally my experience, because when you pray together, all the other stuff about our differences goes out the window, because we realise we ain't got the answers. We need to pray together. Give me your perspective more as a young person.
It's complicated because I define myself as an atheist.
Okay.
Although I'm living in Israel as a Jewish and everything, it's very complicated to me. I'm still trying to figure it out. But I can tell you that I spent the last holidays in the military, and we all went to a synagogue, and when we ate dinner, we all prayed together and said the blessing together, even though I didn't believe in it, and I'm still not believing in it. But as you said, it's giving us the feeling of being united and being like a family together, because we just spent the holiday together, not with our families. So you've got to do something in order to feel connected, or to feel like it's a holiday, or just to feel together. So it is connecting between people, even though not all of us are feeling the same way for really.
Yeah, that's okay. Yeah, that's good.
I will explain you something, because I think it's a very interesting question, John. You're very, very, very much, I would say, pinpointing the issue. And I think that now, one day, maybe you will lead it. We need to sit down together, all of us, during the wartime, and we're praying to, of course, to stop the war and end it with the hostages back, always not to forget it. But I think that, once there was an Israeli late author who wrote about 6 different marriages, and his name was Dan Ben Amotz, and he wrote about the marriage that is matchmaking. He spoke about the marriage that is money, the marriage that is is how can I say it, a love at first sight, and it's gone after 1 year. Then the marriage that is people who fall in love with each other only when they turn 70, but they live their whole life together, and then they start to appreciate each other. And then the most successful wedding, a marriage, he says, is a marriage that you cannot define.
Yeah.
And that's the most successful one. And I would say that in this difficult time in Israel, you could see the terminology, praying, coming in so different versions. And I spent time on Yom Kippur. Basically, it was meant to be with my wife in Jerusalem. Why in Jerusalem during Yom Kippur? Because it's not that I went by walk from my hotel in Baal to the Kotel or to the Wall of Tears. I went to Jerusalem to, in a way, listen to the volcano of the mosaic of the Israeli society. And the mosaic of the Israeli society is in a city like Jerusalem, where honestly, you didn't hear one engine except police and MDA and the ambulances. You didn't hear an engine. It was a city for kids with bicycles and open streets in a city that you hear only sirens of prime minister convoys and only traffic jams all over. The silence, or say the sound of silence in Israel was a prayer already. And then came the 7 or 6 different marriages where you hear the scream to God from downstairs at the hotel, in the synagogue. You had the Rabbi Mashash was, his father was the chief rabbi of the Sephardi, of the Sephardi community in Israel, with hundreds of guests coming from France to support the state of Israel at this difficult time. And then when I woke up, I said to myself, where should I go? Should I go to the synagogue downstairs, or should I go to visit my suburb where I was born and was raised up until the age of year 5? And I took my wife, she hasn't been with me, walking in German colony in Jerusalem that you, John, and many others know. And we went through the lanes. We went to visit my childhood home. I took photos. And why I say all this, because for me, it was my prayer. I prayed for the existence of the state of Israel. I prayed walking with Ronit in silence. I went to the natural, what they call the Nature Museum in Jerusalem, Museum Hateva in Jerusalem, and I saw an alternative prayer. I saw non-Jewish people sitting on white, and I'll send you the photo, on white plastic seats, chairs, and praying for the state of Israel outside open air in the morning of Kippur. And I joined them, sitting with them together and praying. And they had people from Dimona who chose, like me, to stay during Yom Kippur in Jerusalem and talk to the Almighty for the safety of the state of Israel. And when the following day I put my photos on Facebook, which I don't use often, and you had to see the responses of people to the photos of my childhood. People from America grew up with me in the suburb, and others who remembered me from year 1, 2, and 3 as a kid. We all praying our way, everyone his own way. It doesn't matter if it's you, beloved family of Kingdom Builders, or it's us, Jewish Israelis or Jewish people who goes to synagogue. We're all praying for our dear Israel, and we will prevail, that's for sure.
Yeah, it's wonderful, Atan, and I have been privileged to...
I see that Jack would like to ask.
Okay, and Pastor Jack, in a minute. We've actually been to where you grew up and walked down the stairs but behind your house. Jack,
my grandma, yes.
Yeah. Jack, have you got a quick comment?
Yes, first of all, can I just make a comment of gratitude to you, John and Eitan, for what you're doing every week. I think this is just fantastic. And more, you said the question of religion that you're still struggling with. Be patient. I'm 60 years ahead of you, and I'm still struggling with it. But I have to say to you, this last Yom Kippur has been more meaningful than any one before. You know, it's and what Eitan is saying, there's a spirit there, and it's, you know, it's alive. And also, Eitan, I think earlier thanked you for what you're doing, whether it's in the armed forces or whatever. Can I say to you how much I thank you, how much we should all be thanking all the young people of Israel. And you're not fighting just for Israel, you're fighting for the world. This you know, this is an existential war between good and evil. And Israel's at the forefront. Unfortunately, not all of the world, Western world, accepts that. But please, thank you. Thank you so much for what you're doing.
Yeah. Very well said, Jack.
Thank you, Jack. Thank you very much.
Yeah. And we have these sessions on a Sunday afternoon. You're welcome to join any Sunday afternoon. But we have guests from Israel and Australia and all sorts. And sometimes we just have a time because we don't know what else to do but to pray. Because, you know, from us down here in Aussie and New Zealand, et cetera, that, you know, there's sometimes not physically things that we can do. You know, we can support, we can you know, spend a bit of money and help some of the families, et cetera, which we do at different times, et cetera. But the one thing that brings us together is the ability to say, okay, not much else we can do, Hashem, but pray for you, for more, for all the young people, for all the older people, and all the who are at the front, and for the diplomats and the missionaries, and for everybody, you know, because we stand with the nation, we stand with the people of Israel. So on that note, we will finish the formal part of our meeting, which we're a few minutes over, but that's good. We will release everybody who needs to go, but we also invite those who can stay an extra 20 or 30 minutes to stay on board, and we actually go into prayer more to pray for you and for the others. So on that note, thank you,
Just
Atan.
a second,
Thank you. Okay.
Just thank you so much, John, for opening the space here. It's also your amazing partnership, and I think that the fact that we are already in more than 10 years together, working for the state of Israel and feeling for the state of Israel together. It's on your behalf, and I really want to compliment you for your leadership and your warmth, and of course to Ingrid, who is the backbone today behind you. So here you are, and one more thing I wanted to say is that I'm back now to normal. Next week, I would recommend John to speak about something hidden that is not so much in the press and not so much in the media. Is about the border, the eastern border of Israel. Is the Jordan River border with Jordan. And I will ask again my good friend who spoke already to us before, Dr. Michael Barak from Reichman University, to tell us more. He is the expert on the Yemenites, he's the expert on Egypt, but I think that he proved to be an amazing speaker during the conference in Herzliya. So I'll ask him to join us to give us a bit of better idea of what's happening in the West Bank and what's happening on the border with Jordan. I think will be really worthwhile. Thank you so much.
Okay. Release everybody, and for those who can stay, I'm going to play a piece of music and then we'll come back and have some time of discussion and prayer.
Thank you. Thank you.